in mind when we're working with a first-time homeowner buyer?
There's a lot. Like, you have to be much more patient with a first-time buyer. Like a resale buyer, just as an example, will purchase a home with about 5 to 10 after seeing 5 to 10 homes, but a first-time buyer, it might take them 12 to 15 homes to see before they actually purchase. Even if you take the exact same steps. There's a lot more to educate first-time buyers on, even things that you might think are really obvious to you. It's not obvious to them. For example, like I know agents who've gotten in trouble for not disclosing PTT to the first-time buyers. Like they weren't under the $500,000 threshold. Maybe they purchased at 550 or 600 as a first-time buyer as a couple, and they went to the lawyer's office. All of a sudden, they owe $10,000, and they just never knew about it. And that's you can't roll that into the mortgage. And to us, that's regular jargon, but to a first-time buyer, it might catch them off guard and by surprise. So there's a higher level of accountability for education around the process. And they don't want to be sold either, right? They don't want to be pushed into anything. Like you really have to be patient with them, but not so patient that you're showing them over 20 homes at the same time.
Okay. What about in terms of the grant? Like, say, for example, if it's one person's first time purchasing, but the other one has previously purchased something. I was kind of reading something about that, then the percentage changes kind of that you can put towards that grant. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, there's two ways a couple can go on title. There, you can go on as joint tenancy or tenants in common, and the lawyer will know about this. Okay, the lawyer will or notary will ask all the questions. If you go on title as joint tenancy, it's an undivided share of interest. And in your situation, if one person's eligible and the other person's not, it'll be undivided, and so they'll have to pay PTT, unfortunately. But if they go on as tenants in common, you can divide it up 99% to one person and 1% to the other. So you put it in as 99% ownership of the first-time buyer who has the grant, and 1% of the person who doesn't. Financially, it's 50-50. So if anything happens to the relationship or anything, they can still, get half of the equity out. But it helps
For
them.
example, three people. If you had three people, could it also be like a 98-1-1 or like a 48-48 and 2, like that system as well?
I believe so. I've never run into that situation. Carol or Aman, do you know?
I leave it in the hands of the lawyer, to be honest with you. I don't give them any percentages and stuff like that because I don't want that liability, because basically it depends what they've owned before and stuff. So they are going to go on a percentage, but they can still go joint rights with survivorship on that. But they're going to pay different amounts when it comes into the statement of adjustment.
Yeah, I'm the same as Carol and Hiroshi. I leave it in the lawyer's hands. You give them the information you're 100% about, and you're comfortable telling them. Anything beyond that, just kind of refer them out to someone. So, you don't want to be held liable for giving wrong information. So,
Okay.
Yeah, like one thing I always get with exemptions for PTT is I'll say, okay, you've lived in BC for 2 years, and you've never bought a home anywhere, and I'll look at them and then, well, I was joint ownership in a home that I immigrated from, in the country I immigrated from. Does that count? And I'm just like, go to a lawyer. Like, I don't want to answer that question for you at all. Like, I'll still work with them, of course, but let them know that there is PTT and that a lawyer will help them. Because on on the government website, it says you cannot have owned a home anywhere, and it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
To me, there's no gray,
Okay.
but I'm just gonna, yeah, if they're trying to find like a loophole or something like that, I'm not gonna be a part of it.
Well, and not only that, when something's done by the lawyer, then the council will not come after us because they've gotten the legal person doing that. So, and the council does not like to challenge the lawyers. Right? So you're protecting yourself. And that's why I put in every single contract, especially more complicated ones, subject to legal advice regarding the contents of this contract.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, Rob, you there? Rob? You're on mute. Still on mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry, my phone's just having a little bit of problems.
no worries, no worries.
I'm going through a bad area, so I could lose you.
Okay. Can you share a win with us from last week?
Yeah, one of my close here, I ended up calling him. I haven't talked to him in a while, and he's looking for a condo in the Vancouver, downtown Vancouver area. So I've been kind of working with him back and forth. We've kind of limited to a couple of buildings. So that's my win from last
Right
week.
on, right on. Good job.
Yeah, so kind of a surprise that came out of left field, but I guess that's all.
Has he told you that he wants to work with you?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. So it's all good. Just I got to find a place now and create and make the sale. Everything else is good, but that final part's the most important.
Nice. Good job.
Thanks.
Anyone else want to share a win? Something they're excited about that happened to them last week?
Hey, Hiroshi.
Hey, Roger.
Got a contract here that I'm trying to work on before the rescission date. Been talking to Carol about it, just kind of make sure everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some dates are gonna, it's signed on the 18th, but we went on the 17th. So some dates or one date is 18, and some of the other dates haven't been changed from 17th to originally signed on contract right on the 18th. So I'm just trying to work that through with these people to get all the dates the same. And just trying to work with the mortgaging people and the thing of getting the lawyer to maybe just read it, and lawyers are kind of not there. So it's kind of a lot of fun, nerve-wracking, but I guess.
Brand new development.
Sorry? Yeah,
Brand
new
new
build.
development.
Yeah, new build.
Okay.
So
All
it's
right,
the
I'm
second
hoping
one
that-
I done. I know they're all kind of heavily favored, and I read it. The
Yeah.
whole thing, the disclosure and the contract itself. It seems fine, but then I'm not a lawyer, so
Yeah. We'll help you as much as possible. But some
Yeah.
of these contracts, there are 20 pages too, right? And they're heavily favored in the developers.
yeah,
So it would be a good idea to have a lawyer if you have one handy. And that's one of the things as advice is that
Yeah.
when you're recommending a lawyer or notary, like
Yeah.
a legal team, go to the same person, or like try to have one person at the top that you're always nudging to your clients. Because if you refer a lawyer, half a dozen deals a year and they start
Yeah.
noticing you, then they're going to give you the time of day when you
Yeah.
have some kind of question pop up.
yeah,
And if you say, this client's going to use you for conveyancing, would you look over this contract and make sure everything's on the up and up? They'll give you the time of day as long as they get that business from you.
yeah,
But if you're going to eight different lawyers or like a dozen different lawyers every year,
yeah,
and the first thing they do when they get a phone call from a realtor is look at your file and see
Yeah.
how much business that you've given them.
Well, these guys, I haven't give him any.
Mm-hmm.
But I know him. I know Tony Spagnuolo, so I did call him, but they said their lawyer was away, so I don't know what.
Yeah.
And I did call another lawyer in South Surrey just to see. But
Spags is really good.
yeah, if not, I guess, we read it through and make sure the dates are all signed.
And remember that notaries cannot give advice on the contracts. They're
Yeah.
not legal. And I think for everybody, please really be mindful of the dates right now of everything because of closures. So look at the holidays, call and see if lawyers are available and stuff like that, because a lot of them take the time off. So if they're going to crunch everything, or you think they're going to crunch everything, I'd be really cautious on that, because if things don't complete, that can become ugly. So be extremely mindful of the dates right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you don't realize once you doing all these contracts, or you're thinking of so many things, and it's easy to miss a date. Like I was there with her, and she says, "Oh, before it was Christmas Eve," and she says, "Oh, it's Christmas Day, and that'll be fine. But bring us a check in, 2 days later. Doesn't matter, as long as you get it on the 27th, it's okay." I said, "Oh, okay." But then I got out and said, "What was I talking to her about? That's not really is legal. It's not legally written that you can do that." So, is that if I know if a date falls on a holiday, does it automatically fall to the next day then? Or not?
It does, but we prefer that it doesn't do that. So when I'm
Yeah.
looking at a contract, I've got a calendar in front of me with the dates. Yeah, if it's closed on the weekend or closed on that day, you really truly want to avoid that day. Because that check should be there, but
Yeah.
you should have that check on the 25th. Okay. But if the office is closed, you can do it on the 26th or 27th, but you should have that check in hand on the 25th.
Yeah, they
That's the
said they're
date
closed
should
on
be
the
dated.
25th, right?
Of
So
course.
just bring it on
Yeah.
the next day. Just
Yeah.
Yeah,
drop it off.
but the
They said,
check
okay.
needs to be dated the 25th.
Okay.
not
So
the
as long as it's
26th.
dated, right? As long as it's dated the 25th,
Yeah,
I can take
and
it
you have
in.
it in hand on the 25th.
Yeah.
So I would personally get that date changed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. Just wondering, can you, like, if the mortgage guys, let's say, can you date it for the 25th and do and just take a copy and send it over? Is that
No,
still?
no. So if you go to the real estate council, somebody took a copy of a check and they ended up, I think, losing their license for 30 days plus a $10,000 fine. You cannot do a photocopy. You need the physical check or bank draft.
Yeah, no, sorry, the bank draft, yeah.
Yeah. No, you cannot just have a copy.
Okay, so it's got to be
You
dated the
physically have it in
25th.
hand. I would change that date.
Yeah. Okay.
Good
All
question.
right.
Yeah, like on that note, I've gotten into a habit of doing all subject removals on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as long as it's not Good Friday or some sort of statutory holiday, then the client can go into the bank and then get the draft. I don't do subject removal on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah. No,
you know,
I don't know how. I guess I was just thinking of the mortgage people when they're going to get it and if it's going to,
yeah. No, good
But
question.
I'll call her. I'll call her
Yeah.
today and get that
Yeah,
changed.
it'll work out.
Okay. That's
All
about
right.
it.
So today, whoops, what's going on here? There you go. Everyone can see my screen?
Yeah. Kind of. Oh, here we go.
Can everyone see it?
Yeah. Finance and investments.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Right on. So this actually comes in a good time, being the end of the year for, I think, all of you. Your fiscal year is going to run January 1st to December 31st anyway. So this would be homework to close out the year and do all your expenses, balance sheets and P&L. Does anybody have a P&L already that they're working with?
Profit and loss. No.
So a P&L stands for profit and loss, like a profit and loss statement. Obviously, like, we're self-employed and running a business. It's the same as running a coffee shop, a toy store, or whatever. So, we don't have staff, we don't have inventory or leases, which is awesome. So it's a lot more simple than an actual, mom and pop shop kind of thing. But for accounting purposes, we still do have to have this. And in the Red Book, Gary talks about these millionaire real estate agents. They look at their P&L statement every week. I think for anyone who's a realtor in their first 3 to 5 years, you should still look at your P&L statement every month just to get an idea of where you are with your revenue and expenses. So the basics of the crux of the P&L statement is that you're going to have your revenue, and for realtors, what's involved in revenue?
Sales.
Sales, yeah. Commission.
Yeah.
So your revenue is going to be the commission dollar amount. I'm going to try to make this as interactive as possible, because talking about balance sheets and money and things like that, it could be really boring today. So chime in if you know the answer. So yeah, revenue is going to be all your commission dollars, okay? Until you have a second or third stream of income. And then you're going to subtract your expenses. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then you're going to either have a profit or a loss. And like I said, do this every month. Get into the habit of looking at all your receipts, all your expenses. From there, you're going to subtract your taxes. And, we've touched on this before. The best thing to do is email Naomi, let her know to take off 20% of your gross commission off the top. So if you get a check for $8,000, they're going to take the cap off, which is 30%. That's included in your expenses. And they're also going to remove 20% for your taxes and 6% for your royalty. So, we're working with less than half of each commission check. And that'll give you your net. Okay, your net is what you can feed your family with, what you put in your pocket, what you can invest with, what you can save with, and everything. The great thing is it's, we're working with a really simple balance sheet and P&L. Like I said, like, we could have, built up more capital and bought a Subway, who apparently serves cake for bread. But then, in the expenses, we'd have staff, we'd have inventory, we have advertisements, leases. Real estate's a really simple business. Obviously, it's not easy, but it's very simple. So, moving on to the expenses. So one of your biggest one is going to be your car, including financing your car, gas, insurance, oil, tire. The great thing is we get to write it off, maybe not the whole thing. Before I was incorporated, my accountant said that, most agents would be around that 70 to 80% mark, business to pleasure. So 70 to 80% business. Next, we get to write off our phone, whether you buy a phone, your phone plans, and things like that. Okay.
Hiroshi.
Mhm.
So, I think we're allowed to like track our mileage as well. Is how do we do that? What's the best way of tracking our mileage?
I don't personally do it. I've never done it. I know there's apps that have mileage trackers. Aman or Carol, have you guys tracked your mileage being a realtor before?
No, I haven't, and we really should be, but you can take your mileage at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, and then take off a percentage for personal. And Revenue
Oh, okay.
Canada wants you to, but you know, at the end of the day, and you can talk to your accountant if you're using an accountant on that as well. But that's kind of what I do. I just take the end of the year mileage, the beginning of the year mileage and stuff. And I go by my oil changes because I look at what that mileage was then, and yeah, I'm kind of bad that way.
Right.
And we should be.
Yeah. So as far as your cap goes, that's going to be 14,100, and your royalty is going to be an additional 3,000. That's all in your expenses. Of course, your cap comes out as 30% of your revenue until you pay 14,100 into the office. Let me know if you have any questions about that. You know, when you joined our office, I think Ron or Carla should have gone over that with you. Next, we got board fees, education, council fees, E&O. These things tend to add up surprisingly in the beginning. You know, like board dues now, if you're on the monthly plan, it ends up being like 180 bucks a month, and they'll let you know. They'll send a bill every month too. Education, you know, we got to pay the $150 to $200 through the board, and then council fees and E&O. So every 2 years, I think it's $1,275.
No, it's about 1450 now.
1450.
And I think,
Okay.
yeah, and I think they're looking at increasing it again.
Yeah.
Or the board fees for Fraser Valley, they're increasing, pardon me.
Right. And that's fair. It's you know, there's insurance in there, and then there's inflation. So, yeah, and that's every 2 years. So make sure you save for that as well, because I've had light years where it's like, oh no, April's coming, I gotta pay these big council fees. Marketing expenses, photos, staging, Matterport video, website. Use a free one. Social media, ads, gifts, print cards. Okay. Keep your receipts and tally it. Like I know some people have that QuickBook app, or some people scan it to their Google Drive right away, which is a really good habit. You know, with receipts, I would just stack them in my wallet and have a George Costanza wallet until I scan them all at the office. The key with expenses is like, don't shortcut yourself. Like, be very honest. Because we'll go over an allocation form later in order to set your goals for 2020. And the goal is to cut down your expenses and to increase what you net after everything, like what you keep in your jeans. You know, like all too often, I know agents who've made $250,000 a year and their expenses are over $100,000, and I don't know what they spend it on. It could be bus benches, it could be advertisements. You could spend it on 1,000 things, especially because we get solicited all the time with different lead generating sources and notepads and advertising and things like that. So the key is to be honest with what you spend, know what the return is, and to increase the net amount that you get back. So if you include all the expenses here, in your first year, if you do cap in your first year, and I hope you all do, We're looking at about 25 to 35,000 in expenses, and that includes writing off your car and your phone, which helps. But it's again, we're running a business, and it's not cheap to be in real estate. Let me. So if you don't have a P&L, okay, in our coaching website, you can all see this right now. Yeah, thanks, Roger.
Yeah.
Go into financials right here, and you have a P&L statement. If you do go on here, though, please make sure to download it, because if you start making changes on here, you're gonna make changes to everybody. I don't know if you have permission, but if that's the way it's set up. This is the first one's a sample. So you have your revenue, you have your commission revenue, subtotal, and then you have your expenses, and then you have it for every month. Nobody's gonna tell you to fill this out. You know, we're all self-employed, we're all business people, but you do have to. And if you do get an accountant and you give them this sheet, it's going to be a lot cheaper. They're not going to charge you $300 to $500 to go through all your receipts. I had a lady prior to incorporating.
Oh, I was just going to say there's also, this is a really excellent guideline to show you what to put in, but there's a free program called Wave, which is excellent. But use this as your guideline as to what exactly your expenses would be. So if you take a look at Wave, it's really good and it's free. It's online.
Nice, nice. Yeah. And an accountant, you know, if you look for an accountant just to do your T1, you know, I've had some charge $150, as low as $150, and some are up to $500. So you can shop around for that too. Any questions?
Hey, Hiroshi, just wondering about insurance and stuff. Like, I just noticed on there, if you're getting like, I don't know, insurance on yourself, like, can you do that through the company, or is it like, what do you call it?
There's
Like with regular companies, they give you some sort of insurance, like in terms of,
liability.
yeah, liability or even dentist insurance, that sort of thing.
Oh,
Is that something we can do through the company, or is that? I know
we
there
used,
was something, but I don't know for sure.
you're talking about health,
Yeah,
yeah,
health plans.
medical plans and
Yeah,
things like that.
medical and dental type of thing. Yeah.
We used to have one through the office. I don't know if that's still going.
Okay.
Aman, are you in that plan? 'Cause I remember your family was in it, right?
Yeah, the office still has it. You can talk to Naomi, and they'll give you a basic idea of what the plan looks like. You know, I think it's changed a little bit when they first introduced it, but they do have something. So definitely reach out if that's something that you need.
I remember, yeah, because the first time they introduced it, it was $60 a year, a month or something. And so everybody got it. Saw their dentist twice that year, and then they went to get massages 4 times a year, and then like, you got prescription sunglasses and everything. And then the next year, they were like, "Okay, we got to double it. We got to double the premium." So a lot of people, including myself, we went out of it. But if you do have a family and you have kids and everything, it's a really good idea. Yeah. Any other questions regarding P&L and balance sheets?
Hiroshi, what's the tipping point to be incorporated?
Good question. Yeah, I got a slide for that. So we will talk about that today. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. So as far as financing goes, like let's say you get an $8,000 commission check. Okay, the first thing that's going to come out of it is the 30% cap until you pay your $14,100. So out of the $8,000, that's $2,400. Your paycheck would read $5,600. However, if you get KW to deduct this one says 25%. I would recommend 40%. Or sorry, this one says 25%. I would recommend 20%. So it deducts another $1,000 about. So that's your net. Okay, that's the amount that's going to be on your check. Of course, we recommend savings. We'll go into investing a little bit soon, a little bit later too. That's more the exciting part after financing and budgeting. I know this could be quite boring. And then from there, we recommend putting 10% towards your business and marketing. Gary Keller in the MREA says you have to lead with expenses. You shouldn't be spending money on advertising and postcards and things like that until you start having sales. And in the beginning, if you put away about 10% of your net, about $500 each sale, then you can venture out into maybe Instagram ads, Facebook ads, or whatever. But the other advice that Gary Keller has is to play red light, green light with all of your expenses. So as soon as you start doing Facebook ads or Instagram ads for a month or two, you want to red light it and see if there's a difference in the return on investment and whether it's worth it. I know Jordan McNabb last week said he wanted 3-to-1, 4-to-1 on his money for advertising and making hoodies and hats and things like that. Personally, I like to see about 5-to-1 return on any advertising dollar. Anything you guys want to add to that, Aman, Carol?
No, I think you kind of hit it. I'm sort of on the same page as Hiroshi with how I kind of budget everything as well. So
yeah, it's good to be cheap in real estate. Like
it's easy not to be cheap, right? I mean, there's a lot of flashy shiny objects out there. So
I thought only lawyers were cheap.
Yeah, like we're getting constantly solicited by like pen companies and ads and websites and you join Top Producer and they're calling you every month for all these add-ons and whatnot. So you have to be good at saying no, especially in the beginning.
Hiroshi, do you have, like in your years of experience, well, I guess for all you guys, what's ad spend you do like or that you continue to do and use?
For advertising?
Yeah.
No, I'm a door knocker. Like if I need business, I'm printing out expireds and going knocking.
Okay.
That's constant for me.
When I was doing it, I was just on the phone, phoning.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some of the social media stuff like Facebook ads and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. The return is kind of hit and miss. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. It's hard to kind of figure out what that algorithm is. I don't think there's a silver bullet when it comes to Facebook and Instagram ads. I haven't figured out the secret sauce yet on that. So
I got one neighbor, a buddy that's an agent at the end of my block, and he has a couple benches in our area up in Silver Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, I go, how long you been doing benches for? Is it worth it? Whatever. And he goes, I don't think I've got a single lead from my benches, but I do know that by having my face on those benches, no other agent has their face there. So he's blocking other people from it.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, those benches, take a guy like Mike Mafori, right? He's been in the business for 8 years or whatever. I think he started just after 2010, maybe 2012, and he went all in on you know, bus benches and all that type of stuff in the Fleetwood area. And his name is everywhere. Like he owns that market. He spends a crazy amount. Like the numbers I've heard are absolutely nuts, but he makes that, whether it's a result of his face being everywhere or, you know, just that awareness around him or not, that's hard to tell. But I mean, I think if you do it, you got to sort of own it. I don't think doing one or two really makes a big difference on your bottom line, but you know, people that they own a whole block, they own a whole neighborhood, a subdivision or whatever, and it works for them. So
yeah, I think got the whole Guildford Mall area, like every bench.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, Mike has basically from, you know, 170th to 152, and then Highway 1 down to Highway 10. Like he just owns the whole area, right? So.
Okay.
Is that
And on the
Mike
back of
Farino
every
or something?
Sorry, say that again, Roger.
What's this guy's name? Mike Farino or?
Mike Mafori.
Yeah. I see his benches are up.
Yeah.
And on the back of every bus. He's everywhere around here. But Martin's 100% right, and same with Hiroshi. You either go all in or don't bother, sort of thing, because one or two is, you know, it's really not. How many people really see it? I know out in Fort Langley, Andy Schillhorn, they called him Fort Andy because he had Fort Langley totally tied down. Now some other agents are breaking in, but he had spent probably, and this is many years ago, probably 30,000 in advertising, but that we're talking like 20, 30 years ago, which is a huge amount of money. But he's also a good agent, and he basically works on referrals. But that being said, you know, he probably does not spend that amount now today because he is known.
Yeah, if you do the math on it, you know, if you get 20 bus benches and each one costs $100 to $150, you're spending $2,000 a month on it, 24,000 a year. Do you really think you get 2 listing appointments because of your 20 signs? And if you do, are you willing to pay $1,000 to get in a door? So if you get the 2 listing appointments every month from your bus benches, and you know, I'd be surprised if you get that, you're essentially paying $1,000 to walk in a door when you're almost guaranteed to compete for that listing too, and you're going to get it half the time if you're really solid, if you're really good, if you really nailed down that listing appointment. To me, it's just it doesn't justify it. Like, you have to ask yourself, are you doing this for your ego, and who are you marketing to? Are you marketing to the neighborhood, or are you marketing to other realtors?
I'm just wondering who sees this. Like, is it us realtors looking at another realtor?
Have
Do
you
people actually look at it and say, "Hey, Mike Farino, yeah"?
have
I don't
you
think people
personally,
care.
have you personally called these lawyers and home inspectors and realtors from bus benches, or what do they have? We have cosmetic surgeons from bus benches.
I don't think so, because I'm looking at a lawyer, and I'm sure I've seen a lot of lawyer.
Exactly, and
You
you
know,
never
and who
reach
am I
out to them.
calling? I went to the, area South Surrey top lawyers.
Mhm.
There you go. I don't know how many benches they had, but
Your time, money, and energy is always used better with through referrals. And for me, it's door knocking. For Carol, it's cold calling. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, David, with bus benches. Okay, so here's another one of your questions. Okay, so there's your take home, and whoops, what happened there? Your living expenses. So obviously, like, there is a threshold that you'll get to when it's a good idea to incorporate. You have to balance the pros and cons of it. The pros being, you know, you can optimize your income. Like, let's say 1 year you make $500,000, and then the next year you make $150,000. Like, obviously that's a big roller coaster that I don't think a lot of people will ride. But you can shelter the $500,000 into your corporation, pay yourself out whatever you need, and then you can share the income, split the income in your next 2 or 3 years if they're a little bit lighter. And you can also shelter that income and purchase investments through a holding company. So that's the main pros as far as why a realtor would incorporate. Obviously, like, I think some people do it for the optics, like the perception to seem stable or to look like they're incorporated, to look like they have a robust team behind them or something. So there's that. However, I don't think the cost justifies just the optics and the perception. But if you start a holdco and you own investment properties under it, you can limit your liability and tax shelter your profit as well. So that's huge. The cons of incorporating is you have to pay 2 board fees. So the $1,450 that Carol was talking about every 2 years, now that's times 2. You have to do one for your corporation, one for you. Your accounting fees go up through the roof. Like, I used to pay Margaret Kovacs, who's amazing, who's an amazing accountant, $150, and now I pay a corporate accountant $2,000. And that's $2,000 for the prec and $2,000 for the holding company. So accounting fees are through the roof. So if you talk to an accountant, they'll always push you incorporating. They'll love you if you incorporate, because all of a sudden they're getting 10 times more money from you. Legal fees go up. You have to keep your books with a lawyer, and that costs about $500 as well. So your costs are way up. It doesn't make sense unless you're sheltering at least that much in tax savings. Okay, so when people say, like, the short answer to when do I prec is, first you have to have at least 6 months of business and personal saved up before you prec. And like, I was probably early by a year to prec, and then, you know, after the fiscal year, I found out I had to pay all these really high accounting fees and legal fees and things like that, and I told myself, yeah, if I knew that, I wouldn't have precced, because I wasn't saving that, optimizing my salary and deferring my taxes at the time. However, if you have, you know, 6 months of business and personal, and your business is skyrocketing, like it's going up, like in an increasing trajectory, then it's definitely time to think about it. And you know, we're always here for advice as well. I think Aman, you just recently precced?
Yeah, I waited a while. My accountant just basically told me, you know, once you're netting over 100,000, at that point, maybe consider it. He kind of went the long way instead of telling me to prec early. So I waited as long as I could. Those fees add up, and I felt it made more sense going the other way. So the other thing you got to keep in mind is that once you prec, when you're buying investment properties or looking at investments, you're going to need 2 years of income to under the prec, because they basically look at it as a new employee, even though you're not. The mortgage side of things looks at it a little bit different. So just keep that in mind if you're planning on buying a home for yourself or an investment. kind of plan 2 years in advance.
Yeah, and there are like instances, even if you're netting $150,000 a year, if you're spending all that money, the only thing a PREC's going to accomplish is you're going to get taxed twice. You're going to get taxed in the corporation, and then when you take out the $150,000 as personal income, you're going to pay the same income taxes as a self-employed person. So you're going to pay tax twice. So again, the main thing is you have to be able to shelter money. If you're just spending every dollar that you make, you're not even close to incorporating. Like, you're just going to pay even more money through the accounting and legal fees.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna hear opinions going both ways: PREC early, PREC later. You know, the numbers that I looked at the longer game, like, you know, closer to once you're starting to, you know, gross about 200,000, you know, after expenses, then it makes sense. But I mean, some people do it once they're making 100 grand. So, you know, it's sort of a personal situation. Kind of look at it and see what makes sense. Again, like what Hiroshi said, just you got to make sure that you're going to account for all those fees, because it adds up pretty fast. You know, just getting a PREC set up is about $2,000, I think. So that's before you do anything else. Just getting a lawyer or all that kind of stuff to set up the companies, and then you're gonna have to pay that prorated fee to the board right away as well. So if you're in year one of your license, you're gonna have to pay $700 or whatever the prorated fee would be. So just keep that all in mind.
Yeah. Did that answer your question, David?
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions about incorporating? All right, that's all we got for financing. So we want to get into some of the fun stuff. So here's everyone's favorite bar game. Would you rather? So, David, would you rather get $100 today or receive a penny today and have it double for a month?
Penny and double.
Nice. What if I told you instead of doing that, I'll give you $500?
I think the penny for a month still comes out ahead.
It might, yeah. So we're talking about compound interest when we're looking at investments. The good side of compound interest is when you're investing, and the bad side is debt. Like if you have credit card debt and things like that, because that always compounds too. So let's see if David's right here. On day one, I'm going to give him 1 cent. Okay. And then on day two, I'm going to take that penny back and I'm going to give him 2 cents. And then I'm going to double whatever he has every day for a month, for whether it's 30 or 31 days. And his goal is to have it grow more than $500. And here we'll see if he can accomplish that. So by day 4, he gets 8 cents. That's pretty exciting, eh? Don't spend it all in one place. 32 cents and 64 cents by the end of the week. It's not looking so good to make $500 at this point. Start of week 2. It's $1.28. $2.56 on the Tuesday. And then by the end of the week, it's just nearly $100, so $81.92. And you can check if my math is right here. By day 15, so we're halfway through now. It's $163.84. And then we're gonna start to see some real money. And by day 17, we're at $655. So you beat your $500. Dave, do you still want to double your money, or I'll give
Yeah.
you $10,000 right now, or do you want to see where your penny goes if we keep doubling it till the end of the month?
Yeah, no, keep going because you're going to e-transfer this, right?
I can only do 2,000 on e-transfers.
Oh, better than that.
Unfortunately, or should I say fortunately for me. So $1,300 on day 16. And by day 20, we're looking at $10,500. And that's all from doubling a penny every day. So we started at a penny. Now we're at $42,000, $84,000, $167,000. And we've hit $1 million at the end of week 4. So 28 days later. And unfortunately, David, I think this is a 31-day month. You've totaled $10,737,418. So Albert Einstein says compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. If you've taken bold, this is one of their exercises. So, you know, as realtors, like, we have to invest. We are self-employed. There's no retirement savings benefit. There's no pension plan for us, right? There's no corporate pension plan that we can earn. Investing in real estate is probably the best way you can increase your net worth. And if you look at those Fortune 500 magazines, it's always net worth that's measuring this, I guess, the success of people. And all you have to do is purchase a property, let it go up, and we'll go over how you can turn that into income for you as well.
I think the one thing I've never understood is realtors that rent. I never understood that. Like, I'm not talking at the beginning of your career, I get that, but realtors that have been realtors for 5, 10, 15 years, if I see them renting, it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't click for me upstairs. As a realtor, you kind of always sell real estate as an investment, like for long-term financial wealth, right? Yeah, I'm always wary of a realtor that's renting. So
Yeah, for sure. Like in Vancouver, if you look at the past 100 years of real estate trends, you could take any 15-year segment in the history of Vancouver real estate. You can take any 15-year segment, and you'll notice that the price doubles every time. Right? So we're in 2020 right now. A typical BC box in Coquitlam would go for about 1.1 on a busy street. 15 years ago, 2005, they would go for, I would say, around $500,000 or $600,000. So it's just over double. I know my parents bought like a BC box in '91 in Coquitlam, so that's almost 15 years before that, and that was $200,000. So you can see, like, between '91 and 2005, it's almost tripled. It's double and a half, and then from 2005 till today, again, it's more than double, and that's anywhere in the Lower Mainland. So honestly, like, after you become I know not everyone's a full-time realtor, but after you become a full-time realtor, I'd love to see everyone buy their first property after being like less than 5 years in the business. Yeah. And that's not, your first principal residence. That's an investment property. I think one of the most embarrassing stats about realtors is like their investment portfolio. It's a known fact that 2% of the public in Canada owns real estate as an investment. And the worst part is that the same 2%, it's also 2% for realtors who own investment properties, which to me is mind-blowing and embarrassing that here we are able to purchase investment properties, take advantage of all our knowledge. We know the market trends. We get the properties first. We know the rent values. We know the interest rates. We have all the OCP and autoprop at our fingertips. We know all the locations. We help people buy and sell all the time, yet we're not taking advantage of all that knowledge and using it towards our long-term growth and investment. Sorry, that's my rant. So what do you hear out there? What are some people's limited beliefs and, Gary calls it misunderstandings of investing in real estate? Why wouldn't someone take advantage of this? This is where you guys come in.
The few people that I've talked to over the last little while, they don't want the headache of being a landlord.
For sure. I understand that. Yeah. Anyone else?
Might not have the money.
Might not have the down payment or the income.
I think a bit of both. They may not have the down payment, or they're spending like crazy and don't save enough, right?
They got to save. They got to, they got a bunch of kids. They're like Chris, and they had a newborn on Friday, and it's their third kid. For sure. Down payment is one that I hear a lot of. You don't have the initial. If you want to buy a $500,000 condo right now as an investment, you're required to have $100,000 in capital. That's one I hear a lot of. Any other limiting beliefs?
I've got a challenge with qualifying.
Qualifying, so that would be like an income. Monthly.
For our household, my husband has his income, and me, it's just sporadic with U.S. rental properties and what little I've done here. So I'd like to have more property in Canada, but we can't qualify. We're tapped out with our equity in our home and my husband's income and what we're doing in the U.S. We've got challenges.
For sure.
Hi Hiroshi. Yeah, this is Manpreet. I think the capital gain too as well, that plays a role when you buy an investment and sell it later. So if it's $1 million investment, you have to end up paying like $60,000-$70,000 when you sell it.
When you sell it, yeah, capital gain tax, for sure. That all depends on how much your profit is.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know, let's say you purchase a property, 20 years later it's paid off, and you sell it for a profit of $1 million. Half of that profit amount is gonna show up on your income.
Yeah, half of the amount and your tax bracket. If your tax bracket is 30%, then you pay 30% of that half profit. Yeah,
exactly. And $500,000 is gonna boost you into the top income bracket for sure. You're gonna pay 41 or 2% on the last 400,000.
Yeah.
So there is that for sure. Anyone else? What's keeping you from investing in property? Sorry?
You don't have the knowledge, right? You don't know where to begin. I said some people might not have the knowledge and not know where to begin.
Yeah, it's a huge investment. It's you're putting a lot of your savings into one horse, so to speak. And so definitely they don't have the knowledge, and they're scared. Like, yeah, knowledge is power. Maybe they want to be mentored through the process too. They don't want any surprises. And same thing as first-time buyers. Surprises are what kills referrals and things like that. So could you imagine like investing in something, all of a sudden you get a surprise that, I don't know, you can't get insurance for the property, or all of a sudden you find out there's rental bylaws against that area. So as far as, so for landlord headaches, David, there are rental management companies, and that's the greatest thing. As far as investments go, that's the greatest thing since sliced bread is these rental management properties. They charge about 7 to 9% of the gross rent. But if you get a good one, they're not easy to find. But if you get a good one, you don't have to lift a finger. They screen the renter, they do the credit check, the criminal check, they collect the rent, they take their 8%, and then they deposit everything else into your bank. And it's, I highly recommend it. Again, like, all of this does come from education. So for sure, if you're afraid of landlord headaches, there are some really good property management companies out here in Vancouver as well.
So hypothetically, if the tenant's washer or dryer dies on a Thursday, when they make a phone call to start the process of getting a repair person or a replacement, the property manager or the rental management contact is the one looking after that?
Yes. Yeah. So I purchased a property in Ontario 3 years ago. And of course, I'm not willing to go out to Ontario to screen tenants or to collect rent checks. So I hired a property management company out there. And about a year in, the microwave went. And I get an email that says, oh, you need to replace the microwave. It's unfixable. Here's what we recommend. And so, of course, I did my due diligence. I called her because I'm super cheap. So I wanted to get the best deal. I didn't need, a stainless steel, super high powered microwave. They were recommending me like an LG or something. And so I called around a couple of appliance stores, and their deal beat everyone else's. So from that point on, so since then, we had a washer go, and there's another appliance that went as well in the last few years. But every time they just send me the best deal, and they have a pretty good hookup with their appliance company, and they say, your dryer went, it's unfixable, here's the best deal. And I just say, yep. And then I don't even pay for it. It comes out of my rent. It comes out of my rent income. So it'll be light the next month, but it's all handled. And I just had to respond to one email.
Nice.
It's amazing how, how hands off and easy it is as far as property management companies go.
Hi, Hiroshi. This is Cindy here.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi. For me, the greatest success that I've had is I've owned like properties which are homes before, and I just found it to be a big headache, even with somebody else doing the work for me. So what I did was I started investing in commercial strata units. So I have no headaches, no repairs, nothing to deal with except like getting my rent check direct deposited. With the lease being so secure and everything, I found that the best investment.
Right on. That's definitely like the next level that I would love to go into.
Yeah, it's a dream. Like even now through COVID, there's government programs. I just had to sign off for my tenants. So it's a lot easier, I found, than residential.
Nice. Thanks for that. I think it was Deborah. You mentioned some qualifying was what's keeping you from additional investments. The only solution I have to that is partnership. You know, you have to find a very trusting partner. If one person brings the capital, then the other person brings credit. Okay, the credit person has to make a very good amount of income. They would usually be someone in a mechanic or trades or something. And so you'd have the capital, and then you have the credit, and then you go 50-50 partners. And there are really good contracts out there to make that happen. As far as capital gain goes, like I know, especially for realtors, like most realtors don't have space in their RSP, but if you don't have space or not space, a lot of realtors don't put money into their RSPs. And so you can use that as a tax shelter when you do cash out of your investment. But you know, one of the investment courses I went to, they say you do have to pay capital gains, but the only reason why you're taxed is because you're making a lot of money. So look at it as a good thing. You wouldn't get taxed if you didn't make any money.
So Hiroshi, for getting investment properties and receiving rent day in, day out, what are the flip side to purchasing like pre-sale in a condo, waiting for it to complete and then flipping? Because I got one client right now that in the new year, they're looking to either get an older condo and become landlords for their investment, but they're also toying with the idea of buying a pre-sale and then flipping it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a lot of that between 2015 and 2018. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. It's snowing outside. But yeah, we had a lot of people just sell a piece of paper for hundreds and thousands of dollars. The main thing is that you have to read the contract with a fine-tooth comb, the original developer contract, to make sure that you can assign the contract. And since 2018, what's come out of it is for every buyer that assigns the contract, the developer wants to make sure A, that they've sold all their units, and B, that they get a small cut out of it, and that's usually 3%.
And they have to register it now too. There is a registry that the developers have to register, so the government knows exactly if things are being flipped.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing to keep in mind with condos or townhouses is rentals. So if they change the bylaws that you can no longer rent a unit, so owners can change that. So you got to typically in a tower, the concrete towers, you'll rarely see that happen because most of the owners are investors, so they're not going to vote against themselves. But in smaller units, you have to be cautious of that they may change the fact that they don't want tenants in there anymore, and you're not always grandfathered in. They may grandfather your first tenant, but once that tenant moves out, you can no longer. And I know people in the Guildford area, they had to sell their place because they were no longer allowed to rent. So that's another just word of caution. Make sure when you're buying something like that, or for your clients, that you check exactly what the rental restrictions are and how many rental units are in there.
Okay.
Anything else? All right. Any questions on that?
Hi, Hiroshi. Maz
Hey,
here.
Buzz.
Hi. The other thing that I've noticed when I talk to, clients, potential clients for investment, they are telling me that the rental income is not going to cover all the expenditure,
For sure.
even though we put 20%. So at the end of the day, as other people also pointed out, they would need to pay the capital gain, and then they are saying, okay, I would like to see basically a comparison between, I'm not into stock markets, so just I was wondering if anybody or you have done any kind of sort of comparison. I mean, with all the negative points of capital gains, not covering all the expenditure versus just like a 7% or 10% people are talking in general. I'm not expert on that field of stock. I don't know the investment part of that. And then show it to clients. Here you are. So even though you pay a small amount of money to pay all the expenditure monthly, you pay 20% and capital gain because of this gain. I mean, the price is going to be double every 15 years versus if you put your money down in any other investment, how much you would gain. And then here you are. This is the best. I mean, that's why we recommend property investment. I don't know, that's something came to my mind I wanted to share.
Yeah, for sure. The argument is, you can shelter your money in a TFSA, $6,000 a year, put that into an investment and have it grow at a rate of 3 to 6% and have that with no capital gains, no income tax, versus saving up for the real estate property and then having to pay capital gains after you sell it. And so definitely, like, there are very easy ways to calculate that. I have a couple charts that I'll show you that'll show you cash flow as well as increase in value. Like, the thing is, we can't just pick any property and purchase it because 99% of the properties in the Lower Mainland won't cash flow if you put 20% down. They will not. However, what I would recommend is I would recommend going outside of the Lower Mainland in order to get the investment properties, because there are other cities that cash flow incredibly well, and they have really high capitalization rates. It's part of the reason why I ventured out and looked in Ontario. It's probably the reason why DeBoer has investment properties in America, in the States, and commercial properties as well. So, the site that I went to originally is this top 35 cities to invest in. So originally, what happened was, I think I was capped in terms of income. Someone told me, like a mortgage broker that I went to told me I could only afford $250,000 at the time to purchase a property. And nowhere in the Lower Mainland, like I had to go to Chilliwack for an old townhouse to even think about it. But then I went to, this website, top 35 cities in Canada to invest in, and started researching where else I could buy for under $250,000. And that's only you have a partnership, that's a $25,000 investment. If you want to do it yourself, that's $50,000. They don't have PTT. And so this is for 2020. You can go to Guelph, Ontario, that's said to be one of the best investments in all of Canada. The average house price is $527,000. So you can get a townhouse for probably about $350,000 or $400,000. Ottawa, Windsor's a really good, I have friends who've invested in Windsor, Ontario. They bought a house for under $100,000. So, there's a limited belief that you need all this capital, but if you're only putting 20% down of $100,000, you only need 20,000 plus closing costs. So 22 grand, $23,000. You think you could do that in your next couple of years in selling homes as a realtor? Quebec, there's a lot of opportunity in Quebec, Montreal as well. Kelowna, BC. This has always been on the list as far as I've looked at this website for the last 5 years. You go to downtown Kelowna, it looks like Yaletown back in the 90s, where it's industrial and Yeah, and there's some really exciting things coming. There's more high rises coming up. Vancouver's number 22. I don't know how you can get cash flow out of Vancouver without putting 30-40% down, but the increase in value make Vancouver really good. I don't really agree with Calgary and Edmonton. I know people who've invested there and they rarely see a return. But Thunder Bay I considered until I found out that their winters go to -40, and I thought if I ever want to go back there, nope, that's a no for me. But yeah, this moneysense.ca, they're usually right. Like, I'll look at a lot of cities. A friend of mine brought to my attention, like, oh, Hiroshi, like, if you're looking for another place, you should look at, I forgot the city. It was on the island. Anyway, I did some research into their economy and their population, and it was like a roller coaster, like their population. And so I said, and it was too small. There's only 10,000 people living in that area. So I said no. This website, they've done all that research. A lot of these cities have universities. Their population increases year over year. They have a healthy economy. Abbotsford Mission. Yeah. And the other opportunities that we have to think outside the box is Airbnbs. Prior to COVID, definitely there's a huge opportunity. People are getting hundreds of dollars a night. You can fill 20 days out of a calendar month and make a couple $1,000s in cash flow from Airbnbs. As a realtor, you can buy, fix, and flip. You can get into partnership with a contractor. You can make money on the equity, so you can flip it and eat the cost of being the realtor, and then the contractor would eat the cost of their work, and then you would share the profit. And of course, foreclosures are a really good opportunity. Chris Ackerman bought a condo for about $50,000 under market value about 6 years ago. And then he ended up fixing it. And then it wasn't really a fix flip, but he ended up fixing it. And then a couple years later, he sold it for a pretty good profit as well.
Hiroshi, so if someone has, let's say maybe they only got less than 100K, but they want to invest, is there anything at all, or do you say, hey, partner with somebody? And
say it again, Roger.
If they have, like, let's say, less than 100K of their own money to invest, right? How would you invest? Would you say, hey, we need to get more people investing if you're going to buy a house? Because
what's the argument for buying a house as opposed to a townhouse or a condo? Or
there is none. I just said a house, but could be condo or whatever, right?
Yeah, if you can find a partner and purchase a house, that's good if you have common goals.
Right.
But otherwise, if you have $100,000 of capital to invest, then I would invest it. Like, now, depending on your income and your qualification through your mortgage broker, it might be $300,000 to $500,000. But there's a ton of properties that do cash flow.
Yeah.
In that range, if you look all over Canada.
How do you mean? Would you just talk to a mortgage person, say, hey, what can this person invest, or what should the income be that we need to really look at for them to?
Yeah, like being a first-time investor, your steps are almost identical as a first-time buyer. So when we're walking a first-time buyer through all the steps, they say, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
We would say, talk to a mortgage broker, find out what you can get. And then the mortgage broker is going to give you the top end of what you can afford. and then there's going to be a number comfortable that you're going to be comfortable spending.
Yeah.
Give me that number. Whoops. And so with investments, you gotta look in the mirror and say, okay, what do I do? Go to a mortgage broker. They're gonna give me a number. They're gonna see that I have X amount in the bank. Give me a number that I'd be comfortable investing, whether it's the ceiling of $500,000, all that capital, or if you just want to invest 75,000 and keep 25 as a rainy day fund. Now you're shopping in the 325 mark, 375 mark, around there. I'm proof that you don't have to be like really good at math to invest.
Yeah, well, I think just get the mortgage guy to crunch the numbers and see what
Definitely
they can invest and take it from there. I guess, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, if you have capital but you don't have either the credit or the qualifying, then you can always partner with someone who does.
Yeah.
You bring the capital, they bring the credit, and then you're partners.
Yeah. How now you invested in Ontario or wherever, how hard is it to do that? Because you're kind of away from everything, right? Or did you get some company or check them up and say, hey, what's going on there? Or is it more of this moneysense.ca that gives you a pretty good idea?
I did a lot of research into MoneySense, Wikipedia, into their city sites, and I came down to about 5 cities that I wanted to invest in. And then that time I went to I connected with a KW agent in London, and then I went there for 2 days, looked at a dozen properties, and picked the best one. In London they all cash flow. I could have picked half of them and they would have all done really well.
Yeah.
And so, luckily I had a really good realtor out there who educated me on the location and areas too. And he introduced me to the property management company. And then even prior to that, a friend of mine did this exact same thing, invested in London. However, he didn't go there. He invested in his first property, his first investment property, sight unseen. So you could do that.
Yeah. You mentioned the island, like around Duncan and that area. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, Courtney was the city. So that was recommended to me, but then I did more research and I said no.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, whoa. Like through real estate, there's 3 opportunities to make money, to increase your net worth. Number 1 being cash flow. So simple P&L, it's what your rent gets you minus what your expenses are, and that's your cash flow. In the Lower Mainland, if you're in the positive, you have an outlier of a property. But if you go to Chilliwack, Abbotsford, Mission, you can find more that do cash flow. And then if you go outside the province, there's a lot more opportunity for that. The second thing is mortgage pay down. So even if you only hold a property for 5 years as a short-term investment, the tenant's going to pay for your mortgage, right? As long as the cash flow is positive. And with interest rates as low as they are now, I think the mortgage pay down percentage is around 30-40%. So if your mortgage is $2,000 a month, you're putting $600 in your pocket when you go to sell the property. But the juiciest, best way to increase your net worth is the increase in value. So again, every 15 years, the properties double. right? We're leveraging our capital by 5-to-1 if you're putting 20% down. So let's say we find, let's say in hindsight, 2015, we purchased a townhouse that was rentable for $500,000, and we put $100,000 as a down payment. Okay, there's cash flow of $100 a month. That's not too exciting. There's mortgage pay down of a few $100 a month. That's, again, not very exciting. However, that $500,000 townhouse is now worth $800,000. Okay, so that $300,000 it increased is added to your net worth. By only putting $100,000 down in 2015, we're taking out, if you sell it, we're taking out a profit of at least $300,000. And you ask any stock investor, you ask any, unless they invested in Bitcoin in 2010, like that's out of this world ROI. You just increased your ROI by 300% in 5 years. So that gives you an average of about 66%. That's a little bit better than like the 3 to 5% investment you would have had in stocks, even if it was in a TFSA. Does that make sense, Maz?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks for sharing.
Of course, like, yeah, I swayed that number from 2015 to to 2020. If you take 2010 to 2015, you're not going to see that kind of return. But if you take, again, any 15-year where the real estate's doubled, your ROI is way more than double because our money's leveraged 5-to-1. So again, if you go under financing in the coach's tools, this cash flow analysis, again, please download this before you change anything. This was done by Kyle Green Mortgage Team. So I got to give them credit for this. In this worksheet, all you have to do is fill in these blue squares, the light blue squares, and it'll give you a cash flow position. It'll predict a future value based on inflation. So I'll do this really quickly.
Is this something we would work with our clients then that want to invest to show them what they can get, or?
100%. All my investment clients have this worksheet.
Okay.
And this is how we come to a conclusion whether we should purchase or not.
Yeah. Hey, Hiroshi, just wondering, when you got talked to mortgage person for this type of thing, do they just give you like a pre-approved process, or do they actually do a little bit more than that?
They'll just give you a pre-approved.
As to what you can probably invest, give you a figure, I guess, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The rest is up to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So let's say, for example, there's a townhouse complex in Chilliwack that I love. It's on Wolfe, either Street or Avenue, WOLFE. It's a 40-year-old complex, rentals allowed. It's full of investors, and they rent really well. I've visited that complex with a lot of investors, and it's cash flow positive, and it's one of the only cash flow positives in that price range that's drivable to us. Right now, they go for I think the last one sold for $335 or so. Kelly Fry sold it. And it might have increased, so let's say $350 is the purchase price. Your down payment percentage, 20%. There is a way to calculate your borrowed down payment, but let's say we have the capital, so you have the $70,000 to put into it. Number of units. when you get to the next level, when you trade in your 4 houses for the hotel, so to speak, and like in Monopoly, and you're buying a 20-unit home or a 20-unit condominium building, then you can fill that in. Rent income, I know that it goes for around $1,700-1,800, so we'll take the low. Vacancy rates much lower than 4% right now, but that's fine. Let's use conservative numbers. The taxes on that property are 140-ish. Condo fees are 300. Insurance is about 500 a year, so it's about $45 a month. Renters pay utility. They pay their own cable, of course. Property management fees in Chilliwack, like I would manage myself, but if you really don't want the headache, then you can add that and put in the 7 or 8%. Property transfer tax is applicable. Legal fees, of course. What are mortgage rates right now? Is that about right? 2.3% on 30 years? Does anyone know?
I think it's about 180, 185. I know somebody got it for 174 from Van City.
Okay, so let's go with 185. Thank you. And appreciation. This is very conservative at 3% appreciation. Chilliwack is like, keep in mind, Chilliwack's landlocked with ALR, as downtown is with the ocean. So their appreciation is much higher than 3%, but again, we'll leave that. The plan's to sell it after 5 years. You can sell it after 10 years. Just for the sake of this exercise, let's leave those blank. Uh-oh. 17,000. I wish 1,700. So your cash position on a monthly cash flow is $200 positive a month. Again, the cash flow is not too exciting, but it's a really good thing that you're not having to put money into an investment. Your initial investment with PTT, closing costs, legal fees, and the down payment is $78,500. As a realtor, you can use your commission to pay the PTT. It magically balances. So that's what I do and recommend. Future resale.
What do you mean it can pay the?
Well, what's your commission on $350,000?
Oh, okay. So whatever you make is probably PTT, right?
So on a buy side,
yeah,
the commission on $350,000 is about $6,500, and your PTT is $5,000, and your legal fees.
Yeah.
So your commissions pretty much covers the property taxes and legal fees.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Hey, just wondering as a figure, let's say if it's $700K to buy a townhouse, condo, whatever for, is there some sort of fees, like in terms of lawyer fees and everything, that you can kind of roundabout tell your client it'll be?
$1,000 plus GST.
That's it. All right.
No, the future value, they calculated it with a 3% inflation rate, and to sell after 5 years. The resale value would be approximately $400,000, and your total profit would be $83,000. Your ROI.
Hiroshi, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the commission will cover the PTT, but it's only if you buy it yourself, right? Then there will be no errors and omission insurance if you're buying a property yourself for you as a real estate agent.
Yeah, I got to tiptoe through this, and Carol will probably help me out here, but what I've done in the past is when I'm purchasing a property for myself, I have a disclosure of
Interest in trade, yeah.
Yeah, interest in trade, and I'm the realtor for the purchase. When I sell a property, I have someone else do it. And again, there's a disclosure of interest in trade, but I'm not the realtor for the sell side. I pay a commission.
Right. And the
Yeah,
sell
you
side
so
is where you'd be concerned. But when you're purchasing, you're doing your own due diligence. So I wouldn't be concerned about E&O. I'd only be concerned on E&O on the sale.
so if you're
Okay.
selling your own property, then you should be concerned, right?
100% concerned. Yes. You know what? They always say it never happens till it happens. I think that's the best
Yeah,
way
I
to look
always
at it.
see real estate agents selling and buying their own properties for the investment, right? This is how they save the commission,
It's
either on the buying side or the selling side.
the buying side is irrelevant because at the end of the day, you're going to do your own due diligence. Are you going to sue yourself?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. But the selling side is of concern. Absolutely. A lot of brokerages won't even allow you to do the sale because the brokerage does not want to be involved in legal action.
Mhm.
The
Okay.
best thing to do is I would call someone like Aman. We've always, year over year, done very similar business. We both hold investment properties, and I would call him and I'd say, Aman, if you list my property, we'll have like a deal, like, I'll pay for all the marketing of the property and everything, but then have it listed. I would do the same for you if you need to sell a property in the future.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, Rishi. Yeah, thank you.
And so we don't.
And
I would take Aman Aman and his wife out for a nice dinner, and then we wouldn't pay the list side commission.
But that's
that's
not
a
the
cheap
drive.
way out if Aman agrees, right?
You're not
Yeah,
going to
and I
take
would do the same for him.
through McDonald's, right?
What's that, Harold?
Yeah, so
I said we're not going to take them through the drive-through at McDonald's, though. It would be a nice.
yeah, we'll take him to keg.
Exactly.
And
So,
I have another question before I forget. So the going back to the buy, fix, and sell. So can you rent it in between, or you just buy it, fix it, and just put it back on the market? So if you rent it, then it becomes a rental property, investment property, right?
yeah. No, you would do either or. Sometimes market shifts, and you have no choice but to rent it out, and that's totally fine. But some people, their goal is to fix it as quick as possible. They're working 14-hour days to do all the renovations, and then they get it done in 3 weeks and sell it.
Then you still have to pay the capital gain, right, when you sell it?
Yep.
But if you have a holding company, is there a less tax?
Eventually, as you take it out, it becomes income. Even the holding company would have capital gains. Again, it's 20 to 40% of half your profit.
I'm
So
just
it's
going
the
to
same.
add, taxes are inevitable, no matter what. Whether it's a TFSA, whether it's an RSP, where it's whatever, you're going to have to pay tax somehow. But what you try and do with your taxes when you have a good tax accountant is you're trying to take your money out when your income is reduced, so you pay less percentage on the taxes. And sometimes, and having worked in a trust company before, it backfired on a few people because what happened was in a company where they got a really good pension, when they were taking out their RSPs, their pension income was higher than their earned income. So they were paying higher taxes at retirement than they were when they were working. So you really need to have a really great accountant to work with you on that. Just like Hiroshi was saying, you get yourself a good accountant because eventually you have to pay taxes. That's the reality, that, but they are also I wouldn't say loopholes, but they also know a lot of ways to save you tax income or paying taxes.
Yeah. Maz, to answer your question from the past, your ROI is calculated right here is 21%.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And then the other thing which I'm wondering for such calculation, I don't see the vacancy rate of that property. How we would be addressing that if somebody is going to be concerned about that?
I set vacancy rate at 4%. Like this is uber
okay.
conservative.
Sorry, I missed it.
In Vancouver, downtown Vancouver, it's under 1% right now. I should rephrase. That was prior to COVID and all these Airbnb properties going back out on the market. However, I haven't seen anything over 4% in my career. Like in the last 11 years, I haven't seen a vacancy rate of over 4%.
Sounds great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, you might see it in Montreal. I did see it over 4%. But yeah, again, research the city like crazy. This is your money. It's up to you to research it. But once you do, you can't get, like, this is a property that any of us could buy today. If you have the 78K and you have the space to buy a $350,000 investment, you could make this kind of money and you cash flow. Like, the properties on Wolf are still available in Chilliwack. Ideally, you'd want to buy a vacant property more than something that's already rented, because the rent's gone up just recently to 1,700. Some of them, they're trying to sell it and they're like, oh, there's a great tenant in there. They're only paying $1,200 a month, and that's $500 out of your monthly cash flow. It's a no bueno for me. Any questions on this cash flow analysis worksheet? It's really good to use for yourself and for your client.
Yeah.
Hey Hiroshi, how are the rentals being paid right now with the renters claiming no income and whatnot? Like, how is that working here?
In my experience, I had a tenant who was in the restaurant industry, got partially laid off for a little bit, and so she got the $500 grant, and that came from the government straight to our bank account, and she topped it off with the rest of her rent. And you know, we have a really good relationship with that tenant, so they said, you know, we're fine, we're just the opportunity's there, so we're taking it out. There is a rent freeze until next June, I think June 21st, for rent increases. And you know, there was a period where you can't boot the tenant because of non-payment, but that's gone. That's over now. So as far as I know, like, talking to clients who have investment properties that are local, a lot of them didn't have an issue with unpaid rent or some of those nightmare issues that you see on the news. I've had nightmare issues in the past. You know, don't get me wrong. I've had my ups and downs, especially when we took over a renter out in Chilliwack. But yeah, that's I chalked it up as experience and moved on.
Yeah.
Any other questions regarding cash flow analysis?
So just Abbotsford and Chilliwack, I think those are pretty good areas to invest in, like condos for people that don't have that much money. Correct? That's what I'm noticing.
Yeah, like, you look at the flip side. If you want to invest in North Burnaby or Vancouver, your initial capital has got to be $250,000 or so. In Chilliwack, buy that townhouse on Wolf if you have 80,000. If you partner with someone, you only need 40,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great vehicles, and like, it could be a short-term investment. It could be a 5 to 10-year plan. It could be a 15-year plan. You don't have to own it for the entire 25 or 30-year amortization period.
Yeah.
This is truly what gets me up in the morning, and what I'm really passionate about is the investment side.
Yeah.
And if you haven't read it already, like, I plug the book a lot, is Rich Dad Poor Dad. it's a weekend read, and that's how I got into all of this. And yeah, it's the reason why I became a realtor, surprisingly.
So is the Wealthy Barber all gone?
Wealthy Barber's good. Yeah, no, any type of knowledge. The Wealthy Barber Returns is a good book too. So Dave Ramsey is really good. Like all those financial gurus are you're gonna get a lot of information from there. But Rich Dad Poor Dad for me is like way above the rest. So as for homework, this allocation form is on Real Estate Tools as well. If you'd like, call me when you're filling this out. If you don't know any of the numbers, if you're a little bit vague about the numbers, the allocation form for 2021 will give you, a preset goal, what you have to make in order to pay your bills, keep food in your belly, have the life that you like as far as recreation, entertainment, vacations. Fill this out. Pretty straightforward. You got your house payments. That would include, your mortgage, your cable, your insurance, everything, your property taxes, food, recreation, entertainment, credit card monthly payments. Like I always say, wake up in the morning and then do the work it takes to grow your net worth today. So what are you doing today to grow your net worth? And for some people, it's going to be pay down the really high interest credit cards. Switch over from credit cards to line of credit that you're only paying 6% instead of 21% interest. Because again, those interest rates are just going to kill you. And so have a plan to pay off any kind of bad debt. And then you'll have your personal expenses here. And then your business expenses, your cap plus your royalty, your car, and then your general annual business expenses. So if you were really good about your expenses in 2020, even if you only have half a year, you just multiply it by 2 and then you get your annual business expenses here. And then you get your grand total. And in this section, all the formulas are written down. So once you have your grand total, you write down your average gross commission, whether it's $8,000, $9,000, or whatever. If you sell a lot of, for example, condominiums in the Fraser Valley, your average gross commission would probably be around $8,000 or $7,000. If you sell a lot of detached in the Tri-Cities, you're going to see more like a $12,000 average gross commission. Average net commission. So again, go back to where on the first slide. So you could have this set at 50%. You could have it set at 70% as I do here. And then divide your net commission by your grand total, and you'll get the number of closings you need to survive 2021. And then you'll have your stretch goal. What do you specifically want to make to take the vacations that you always wanted to spend, to help the people that you always wanted to save enough money for an investment property, to get enough capital for whatever. So for this example, the extra income that's needed is $84,000 on top of the personal and business expenses. And after you pay taxes, you'll have about $67,000 in your jeans. One of the things with like a lot of people, of course, they need to make their personal and business expenses, but they have trouble. Like they'll hit their personal and business expense, and then they'll lay off the gas because it's easier not to do work, I guess. But if you set your goals, for example, save another 70,000 to purchase an investment property, save for a down payment for a new car, save up for vacation. If you set these goals on paper, then it would motivate you to hit your stretch goal of an extra, $84,000 next year, or 100,000 or 200,000, whatever it is. You want to max out your TFSA. You want to sponsor 4 families for next Christmas, etc. So it's really important to set your personal goals and fill this part out, so you can hit your stretch goal for 2021, which we're really excited for. So again, like, when you're filling this out, feel free to call me. I will. There you go. That's my phone number. Any questions on the allocation form? Is anyone awake?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Roger. I got one person left.
We're all here.
Yeah, no, this investment thing is pretty good to do with the investors, because I was just wondering what to do with this one lady, because she wants to invest but doesn't have that much money. So I can go over the sheet with her and maybe talk about Chilliwack or Abbotsford, what about over there? Because I hadn't really thought of that at all.
100%.
But I mean, even though I looked at prices that are super low, but my mind never clicked that. I was still thinking Vancouver, I guess.
Yeah.
Or even different cities, which is kind of interesting, where you can invest.
Yeah, I have to agree with Roger. I didn't even think of this angle. Like, even as a real estate agent buying myself, or even presenting this to one of my customers. So this was really helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we got 10 minutes of time. We'll get into breakout sessions to practice today's objection handler. So let's say you're cold calling and then you get someone who says, yeah, we tried to sell 2 years ago. We're probably going to go with the same agent. Okay. And for any objection, I like to use, call it like a 3-step process. Number 1, agree wholeheartedly. Okay, we're going to use the same agent as we used in the past. Yeah, I can understand that. You might have a relationship with that you've sealed with the past agent. Maybe they invested some of their money to the marketing. I can completely understand that. You feel obligated to use the same agent. Okay. The nodding elephant makes other people nod.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book called Never Split the Difference. And in there it says, before you start to persuade anybody, they have to say yes to something you say. And so I just say, I agree wholeheartedly. And I say, yeah, I can see how you'd think that. You probably have a relationship with the other agent. And do you feel like you have a common bond with them? Yes. Okay, fantastic. So now I can switch gears into persuasion mode. So step 2 is ask an open-ended question. Okay. And if someone says we're going to use the same agent as we used in the past, my open-ended question is, what will the agent do this time that they didn't do last time that caused the house not to sell?
Oh, okay, so you're...
And then shut up. Not you guys, just, if you're if you're using this objection handler, shut up.
Yeah. Sorry, you're going that house hasn't, it's back on the market again, or not on the market? It's expired?
Not on the market yet, but they're looking to sell. Not on the market yet. They're looking to sell, and they're going to use the same agent as they did last time.
Oh, okay.
So ask an open-ended question is step 2. And step 3 is close with a strong statement. obviously, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you don't owe me anything, and you certainly don't owe the other agent anything, but you do owe it to yourself that you hire the best agent for the job this time around. Don't you agree?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So wouldn't it make sense to get a second opinion? It would only take 20 minutes of your time. What time on Saturday at 2 o'clock works best for you? You could say the weekends or weekdays work best for you. So agree wholeheartedly, ask an open-ended question, and close with a strong statement. Okay, so we're gonna do the objection handler. Does anybody want me to repeat any of that? Before we go into breakout sessions?
Yes, the strong statement at the end, please.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you don't owe me anything, and you certainly don't owe the other realtor anything, but you do owe it to yourself to hire the best person for the job. Wouldn't you agree? And that wouldn't you agree is a tie down in sales, it's called. And it's one of the most important steps in handling an objection is the tie down. And so just think me, other agent, you. And once you get this objection, we're going to use the same agent in the past, you're going to be like, oh yes, I know the objection handler for this. And then you're going to go through the 3 steps, and you'll definitely close the appointment. All right, how are we looking for breakout sessions? So when you go on it, you'll be in groups of 2 or 3. And so one person's the agent and the other person is the seller. And the seller is going to say, thanks for coming by, or thanks for calling, but we're going to use the same agent as we used in the past, and then go through the script. It should only take 5 minutes, and we'll get you out of here before noon. Oh, I'm losing my voice. I'm glad I could fill 2 hours of that, though. I was a little worried last night, like, oh man, I know Chris can go off and on, but I can't do the same thing.
You did great, Hiroshi.
Thanks, Carol.
Honest.
Thank you.
And it's snowing.
It is coming down like crazy. Like there's like an inch of snow on the road. We're gonna start seeing cars slide because they all have summer tires still.
I don't do snow.
Yeah.
That way, I'm the one that everybody gives the finger to because I'm going so slow. Okay, just saying.
So you didn't have your picture and your phone number on your car when you sold real estate?
I did at one point, but not in the winter.
Yeah, I could never do that.
No, I didn't like it. Actually, I had it on my one car. You couldn't see through the back window properly because I had a smaller car then, and it just no. It no,
Yeah.
not for me.
Yeah, it's gonna get nasty out there.
Yeah. Yeesh.
Might as well just lock us down now. They got a good
Pretty
excuse.
much.
Now we are locked down.
Yeah, so there's a few agents that are definitely doing some deals this week, which is really good. So they've been keeping me really busy.
Nice.
Yeah. So hopefully they all go through.
Will they be moving to R2 pretty soon?
Pretty quick, I think, but not. I think we'll find more in the new year. I think some of them are kind of like they don't really quite know what they're doing because I know one of them, they had an offer come in on exclusive, but they thought they had to go and write an offer to counter the offer rather than using the offer that came in.
Right. Oh, geez.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna join a breakout room here. We'll chat afterwards for a bit.
Yep. Welcome back, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was good.
Hi, I think I just got put into this breakout group.
I think you're on mute there, Hiroshi.
Hey. So sorry for going a little bit over this week, as we do, but I want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas. Carol, Aman, what are we doing Friday, Monday? Are we off or are we?
I believe we're off. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You guys, you have a lot of homework with allocation forms and getting your taxes done. But yeah, have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Keep safe.
Pick up your apple pie.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys, for joining.
Oh yeah,
We'll
they're
see you
right.
in
The
the new
apple
year.
pie. I forgot about that.
That's right. The pie. My wife's bugging me right now. When's the pie? I told her it was a good pie from Gabby and Jules. She was, oh, yeah. Okay.
And that was between 1 and 3 o'clock, was it?
I thought it was 10 or something. Wasn't it?
Oh, it might be. Is it 10 o'clock?
I don't know. Just call them and show up. Demand your pie.
That's an option.
Yeah. But
But
don't
we're
carry
supposed
the
to
guns
go
like
to
they
the
do in the
office and
States,
then
though.
just drive through, and someone will come out with it. That's what I read.
Yeah.
The office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's snowing, I might call Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.
Right.
Have a good Christmas.
Thank you.
We'll catch up with
Merry
you again.
Christmas.
So, Carol, are you having yours tomorrow?
Yes, I will still do
Okay.
that one tomorrow, and then
Okay.
that's it till January.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
everyone, again, thanks for all your support and joining us in our meetings. It's great.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So what are we covering
Adios.
tomorrow, Carol?
Pardon me?
Carol, what are we covering tomorrow?
I do believe it's contract purchase and sale again. Yeah.
And the listing end, right?
The listing will be, no, did we do contract last week?
I think we did, last time it was buyer, and this was, you said it was listing
Oh,
to
it's going to be
tomorrow.
listing then tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we got kind of muddled on our schedule there, so we'll do listing tomorrow. Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Hey
Thank you,
guys, if
everyone.
anyone's got a lawyer out there that wants to look at a contract the next day or so, I'd appreciate it.
Remember, be cautious of your dates, everyone, now.
Yeah.
I'll even give you some of the pie.
Which one did you order?
Apple.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So,
Adios.
Roger, you're using the Tony though, right? You said, or could you, or
Well,
could
I
he get a
called
hold
him.
of you?
He doesn't have any. He says he won't because they're all hands on deck. People are away. Or
Okay.
whatever.
Well, my lawyer that I like is Dorian Leggett in US. I don't know what her schedule's like over Christmas, but maybe give them a call.
You have his name?
It's her name. I'll phone.
Okay.
Put your phone number in the chat and I'll call you.
Okay. All right. There we go. Oh.
I have a quick question before we go. It's like not related to what we were talking about today. Does the frontage of the home affect if the basement will be legal or not?
Hey, Roger, can you mute yourself?
Sorry?
Can you mute yourself?
Oh, sorry, I was.
Go ahead, Manveer.
Sorry, my question was, does the frontage size of the house affect if the basement is legal or not?
Depends on the city. It's
Sorry.
like city bylaws are and zoning is something I don't memorize because every city's different and every zoning's different. And then on top of that, they change on you.
Okay.
So perhaps is the answer, but the quickest way to check it is you Paragon search the address and you go on autoprop.
Okay.
And as soon as you go on autoprop with the address, the zoning code comes up. And if you click the zoning code, the most current bylaws will come up, and it'll tell you whether you can build or not, or if there's a variance available for duplexes or subdividing or whatever it is.
Okay, because one of my buyers was saying to me, he goes, "Oh, if the frontage is less than like 50 feet, then the basement suite is no longer legal."
Yeah, he probably knows, like, from the developers, they'll know off the back of their hand, especially if they keep developing in the same city, they'll know exactly what the zoning bylaws are. And like, I don't pretend to know zoning bylaws. I just nod my head and just say, "Oh, okay, like that's a good learning experience."
Yeah.
Unless you really niche yourself in that area, I can't commit to memory like all the zoning bylaws. And then on top of that, like, tell potential buyers, because there's a good chance that I'll get it wrong.
Right.
They can change, and they can also put in applications to have it changed as well. So again, like Hiroshi says, I always talk to the city, and you can phone them online, because sometimes it could be in a development plan that you're not even aware of, that there can be changes in it. So you don't want to lose a sale because that investor says, "Oh, this is what it is. But here, let me confirm that for you, sir."
Okay.
Never think outside the box. Never just assume that they're always right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Good question.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Hiroshi.
Thanks for being here.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry
See
Christmas,
most of
everyone.
you
Thanks,
tomorrow, right?
everybody.
Thank you and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks and Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Maz.
And Happy New Year in advance.
Yeah.
You bet.
Cheers for now. Yeah. I may bug you, Hiroshi, this afternoon.
Yep.
I might.
I'm a phone call away.
My client may want to put an offer on a property, and due date is today, 6 p.m. Yeah, let's see how it goes. I haven't done the CMA on that, so I need to work on that and then see how much is worth actually. So that's a tricky way of what I've noticed. A Chinese realtor, I don't want to be putting that statement. I hate that doing that, but they list it as a higher price, 2.4 or 2.5, and canceled the listing. Now they put it